My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
We acknowledge the traditional owners of country throughout Australia and recognise their continuing connection to land, waters and culture. We pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging. Welcome to This Song Is Yours. We're a music podcast that chats to artists, musicians and creatives on their songwriting craft and upcoming projects. I'm your host Simon Fink and welcome to episode 278. We're lucky enough to be joined by Gum today on the pod, or Jay Watson as his friends might call him. Jay is a multi-instrumentalist and songwriter who you would know from his work in both Pond and Tame Impala. He's released a brand new Gum single recently and has announced a forthcoming 6th record, which is crazy. Before we get to all the details of Gum and today's episode, please make sure you're subscribed to this podcast on whatever app you find good podcasts on, and ensure you're following us across all of our social media channels. Details for all can be found within the show notes of today's episode. Our guest today is Gum. The alter ego of songwriter, producer and multi-instrumentalist Jay Watson has just released their brand new single, Would It Pain You to See, and has announced a forthcoming record in the form of Saturnia, which is out September 15th. Fans familiar with Jay's work know that his output is prolific, with this being the 6th Gum record in 9 years, on top of all the other work that he does with bands like Tame Impala and Pond as well. So we are incredibly excited to be chatting with him today about songwriting. In today's episode, we sit down with Jay to discuss the new single and forthcoming record, Saturnia. We discuss his introduction to songwriting and how everyone's songwriting introduction can be vastly different. We also talk about how the Gum live show has evolved over time and what fans can expect from their forthcoming tour dates. Tickets to their upcoming Australian tour and details on where you can pre-order Saturnia can all be found within today's episode show notes. And we want to say a massive thank you to Tian from Morse Code for her help with today's episode. Here is our conversation with Gum. Please welcome to This Song Is Yours, Gum, aka Jay Watson. Jay, hello.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing well, thank you, mate. How are you today?
I'm good. I've come down south with my family, and also my parents are over from Queensland. And we came into Margaret River into town to buy food for dinner and stuff, and I got them to drop me at the pub for this interview. So I'm feeling pretty good. I've got half a pint, a break from the kids.
If there's any better way to do an interview, I don't know what it might be. I think you've picked the right way to do it. So
it's fantastic. There's no one around, you know.
Well, thank you for bringing us to the pub with you.
Yeah,
I appreciate it because I know there's a lot going on in the world of Gum at the moment. There's a brand new single which came out last week. It is Would It Pain You to See, and it is a brilliant track, mate. So firstly, congratulations on this song.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, it's a bit more like I don't know what the word is, thought through or thought out than lots of the music I've made in the past. You know, like I think because I wrote it at like near the beginning of COVID, and then we couldn't do anything or go anywhere or see anyone, and I didn't really have much of a setup at home at that last place.
Mm-hmm.
So I just would play it on the keyboard like at an electric piano. And like fiddle with it and tinker with it. Normally, if I have an idea, I like instantly record it, you know?
Yeah.
And then I'm often so excited about it that I'll instantly record it and then just copy and paste sort of sections of it, you know, ad infinitum or whatever the word is, till it's 4 minutes long. Whereas this one, because I had so much time and I couldn't actually record it, I just slowly, this one and this album, I would change lyrics and change chords and sort of fiddle with it, which I think has made it better than a lot of my previous stuff. The danger is always with that you muck around with it so much that it just all the colours blend to brown.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it was, for me, I think I needed that. Like, I'm so impulsive with ideas that the second anything that's like 4 bars long, I make a song out of it, So it was almost like self-editing, without trying to, like, out of necessity. So I think I think it's a bit more like thoughtful than my stuff I've done before or thought out.
Is it a process you can see? Because I imagine that, as you said, it was kind of not built from, but the fact that you were limited in the gear that you had access to. Do you see yourself doing that as the process for I guess, forthcoming music in the future?
No, because at the end of the day, you still always actually there's lots of ways you can write stuff, but I often just have a guitar or a keyboard, it's the same way. But I will say that having less just toys and effects and just weird things around to play with means that instead of instantly having an idea and then running it through a flanger, all I had was the electric piano, and a couple on a laptop and stuff. But all I had, I would fiddle with it on the piano rather than immediately go into effect town.
Yeah.
Like I'll often just record. I'll often get excited about an idea, but then spend most of the time on the drum sound or something, rather than the songwriting and improving it. So that was, I think in the future, I like the idea. I can't afford it yet, but I like the idea of having a place in the country or something that had very minimal setup,
mm-hmm.
and being able to go and all you've got is a piano in a shack or something. And I like the idea of having that one day, and I think I'll be able to write stuff with a clearer head than surrounded by all the, like, I love all the equipment I have, but it can be distracting sometimes from actually just writing music.
Well,
yeah.
I was going to kind of ask, because the output of music from yourself, you are quite a prolific songwriter. For people who aren't aware of the work of Gum, you're obviously Gum. You work with Pond. You've been involved in Tame Impala as well. Do you find that because you have all those kind of instruments, as you said, toys to kind of play around with, that is where a lot of the prolific nature of your songwriting is coming from? But because they're there, you're able to write more?
Not really. I think I just have all that stuff because I'm really passionate about. I'm really passionate about not much, Like, I really just like music and listen to music a lot, and music equipment and recorded music, and I'm obsessive with it. And I don't really have any other hobbies or, I go for runs and I watch the footy, and that's about it. So that it just comes from that. It's what I would rather be doing than going out for dinner. It's just my life. I think I've always had more ideas for things than I've had time to execute them. And I feel like I've gotten a lot better at. I don't think every idea that I have is good, that's for sure. A lot of it gets scrapped pretty quickly. But I've gotten a lot better at keeping a sort of mental, diary of the good ideas. Sometimes I'll sit there for a decade. There's stuff on this album. There's stuff on every Gum album or every Pond album that I've written up to 10 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
And instead of having to, try and use it, I if it doesn't work, I forget about it. But if it's a good chord progression or a good melody or a good lyric or something, you can't really, it hangs around anyway. You can't really forget about it. So I find that's a good way of discerning, with something that's so subjective. That's a good way of discerning whether something's good or not. If 10 years later you're like, oh, I still remember that thing I made up,
Yeah.
It's probably somewhat catchy if you still remember it. So so I like to pull stuff out, and I also like the idea because it's so subjective. You don't know if what you're currently doing is any good or not ever. Mm-hmm. But then if you use stuff from periods ago, there's almost an objectivity to that, you know, because you're like, oh, that's from when I made this record, and people seem to like that, so it should be of the same standard. And it's kind of comforting being able to pull out like old ideas and use them.
100%. I kind of love the idea of we've spoken to a number of artists on this podcast about that very thing, I imagine, like kind of having I don't want to say like a Frankenstein of a song, but, you know, using different parts of songs that don't get used for whatever reason and having them still be relevant or being able to be applied to a different composition years later. Yeah,
totally. Yeah. And I think that's what we like. I like the best Pond stuff is where sometimes we'll just totally butcher a song of mine and a song of Nick's or a song of Joe's and just yank the best bit, whether it's the verse or the chorus or some sort of bridge or some instrumental bit, and mash it with the best bit of someone else's, you know, if it fits. And it can be quite brutal just getting rid of another bit of a song forever. But I think you can that's a really good way of ensuring quality too, you know, where you're like, this was the best bit of this person's thing they came up with, and this is the best bit of someone else's. And it actually, you can totally mash them together. And I kind of like lots of music that does sharp left turns and stuff anyway, you know. So
100%.
You can sort of mash anything together you want. It depends how like smooth you want it to flow, you know. If you want it to stay the same tempo or the same key, but if you put your mind to it, you can pretty much put anything in any song with anything else, you know. As long as you're okay with it being a bit like jarring. But I like that. I like my ear going like, whoa, you know.
100%. I think having your expectations subverted sometimes in a musical sense is kind of, it keeps you on your toes. It keeps it interesting.
Yeah. I definitely used to do. Yeah, I've definitely tried to do less of the sort of just copy paste to the end of the song thing, and more like not try and do something jarring, but I like try and think like at what point, and it's really hard because it is so subjective when you're making it, but try and think like at what point am I like I'm not getting bored, am I like tuning out, am I not listening really acutely, and around about there, like what can I do now to make it exciting for me? Because all you can go off is your own gut, feel and taste. And so I try and use that now, whereas before I'd be like, yeah, we'll do this for 16 bars and we'll do this for 32 bars. But I didn't really think about how engaged I was through all that. You just did it for that amount because that's how you think you're supposed to get to the end of the song. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas
100%.
now I like if I'm getting bored making it by a certain point, then it's not going to keep anyone else engaged or like blow anyone else's minds, you know. But it's taken me, I don't know, it's taken me 15 years of making music to be able to see that, you know, to be able to see like the
Did you know 1 in 2 women wear the wrong foundation? Matching foundation is hard, but Il Makiage makes it easy. Take the Power Match quiz to find a better match in seconds, customized for your unique skin tone, undertone, and coverage needs. With 600,000 5-star reviews, this best-selling foundation is going viral for a reason. Available in 50 shades of weightless natural coverage. And with Try Before You Buy, you can try your full size at home for 14 days. Just pay shipping. Take the quiz at ilmakiage.com/quiz. That's ILMAKIAGE.com/quiz.
My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
I think that's the hardest and biggest thing about making music or being any sort of creative person really is or really anything, actually any industry, is like the biggest skill isn't really like the talent of making stuff itself. It's being able to recognize when you should pursue something and when you shouldn't, you know, and when something's finished and when it's not, and like that sort of thing, like the choices
Mhm.
And I'd say that goes for anything. It's like cooking or, you know, I don't know, writing an art, like writing an article or just anything. Yeah, making a decision on the footy field. That's experience that gets you like to be able to do that more efficiently and consistently. You know, I think you can only get there through that.
100%. I agree with that. I think I would be curious just to, I guess, discuss, as you said, you've been making music for 15, 16 years now. Do you remember your original introduction to music, and I guess what kind of drew you to songwriting and composing?
Yeah, I didn't do. I like had little songs I made up when I was really little. You know, like under 10. I remember my first song, like on the keyboard.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't much. It was all just like all the black notes on the piano. It was like do 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 do, just over and over. Oh yeah, I was like, I don't know, 8 or something. But I didn't. I had no ambitions of writing music myself. I just wanted to play drums in bands. But then I'd always sort of end up being in bands where you would be with other people who just wanted to play instruments as well. Like there was, I don't know. It's you don't meet too many like young kids, say like teenagers, who want to be like songwriters. You know, everyone at that age, everyone wants to. You know, you just want to play Rage Against the Machine riffs or whatever. You know,
Yeah.
like no one. Little kids aren't pretentious enough yet to be like songwriters. I find.
Mm-hmm. That's very fair.
So I ended up having to make stuff up because other people didn't have that sort of thing. And then, of course, as soon as you make a couple of things up and you play them with your friends and it sounds sort of satisfying, then it's quite an addictive feeling. You know, making something out of thin air. Although when you're that age, it's what I was going to say is, looking back, like everything you make up is like a really derivative rip-off of something else when you're that age, you know? It's really like, well, for me anyway, you know, you're just taking something that already exists and tweaking it very slightly for your teenage band. It takes a long time to like have your own like voice and aesthetic and style. But yeah, I was thinking about that the other day. I was like, I guess like young kids learning instruments, they're like making their own stuff up is so far from your mind. Then that's kind of a real adult like concern. Is like, you know, I'm a songwriter. I write songs.
It is, yeah, definitely something that I feel, as you said, it kind of comes with the more that you do something, the more that you play Rage Against the Machine covers, I think you discover that there is a want or maybe just a exploration maybe to find out what else you can do with it. Yeah, totally. Yeah. I think, there's all sorts of people in music and in the music industry who are in it for completely different reasons, you know. There are people who just love to be like on stage. I like playing shows, but that's never been the impetus for me, you know. Like I like making up stuff out of nowhere and recorded music. I mean, I love playing gigs, don't get me wrong, and I like really miss it. I'm going on tour soon. But for some people that is the point of playing music, you know. 1000%.
And like making records is kind of like can be a bit of a hassle in order to get you back like on tour.
Yeah.
Whereas I've never really felt like that. But yeah, and then there are other people who, I don't know, treat it really like scholarly and just try and get as good as their instrument as possible. And that's also never really interested me. But you need those people to play certain music in certain bands, and, you know. But yeah, that's my instrumental ability, not taste, but like actual like speed or whatever on instruments. Peaked at about 16, you know, and been like steadily declining ever since. Because that's when you play for like 8 hours a day, you know, or whatever. And then when you're older, you're more interested in making things sound a certain way. Or you like, I can't. I feel like I can barely play. I can play instruments enough to do the ideas that I come up with, but not a single step further than that sort of thing, you know.
Yeah. I'm very excited. I know you just before you mentioned that you are going on tour soon. I haven't even mentioned it yet, so I apologise. This single that has come out, it is one of the tracks off the forthcoming Gum record, Saturnia, which I think is the 6th studio record coming from you.
Yeah.
I guess how you feel, as you said right at the top, that this is the most maybe thoughtful music that you've released. How are you feeling about taking these songs out onto the road?
Yeah, it's hard because some of them are like, other than the strings on that new song, it's quite a sort of simple song arrangement and like instrumentally. But then there's other ones like the first song I put out, Race to the Air, where it's just like that, there's the whole kitchen sinks in there, and I couldn't possibly recreate it unless I had the budget of like, Harry Styles. So I'm not even going to try to. Like, I either won't do those songs or I will do it just really like stripped back. We used lots of backing tracks in the past for live shows, but I find that it's almost like the less stuff that you have going on coming out of the speakers live, especially in small clubs, the more impactful it is. So I'm trying to just keep like drum machines on backing tracks and have like no music on them, and just music made by 3 people. It's almost like less is more in like a where are you located? You Melbourne or Sydney?
We're in Adelaide.
Oh, Adelaide. Sorry, I just assumed that's what everyone does to us in Perth. That's what everyone does to us. Yeah, it's like at the Jive Bar.
Perfect.
It's almost having 4 people playing keyboards. It's kind of just becomes a bit of a soup,
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to optimize the band, which is just going to be 3 people. For you actually to be able to hear each bit, even if you don't hear all the bits from the record, it should sound like kind of like clear and good, I guess.
Well, I know that there's a lot of excitement around the new record coming out. I have spoken to a few people who are very excited to.
Oh, awesome! That's so good. Yeah. It's just you just never know. And today's day and age, I sound like an old fogey. People, it doesn't matter how good your music is, people move on from things so quickly,
Mm-hmm.
Like I remember like that Frank Ocean record, Blonde, which just everyone loved and it blew everyone away and everyone was really into. And then 2 months later, you're sort of talking about someone, they're like, what? Oh, yeah, I remember that came, Whereas I don't know if it's just me having nostalgia goggles on, but when I was a kid, you'd be talking about stuff that came out like 2 years ago, like it just came, you're still obsessed with it.
Mm-hmm.
And there's so much stuff comes out now and it moves so quickly. And you have access to so much new stuff as soon as you want it that people move on quick. So now I really appreciate when people care about the new music, but I am also anticipating, 2 weeks of discussion and then that's forgotten about forever,
Mm-hmm.
But I find that weirdly inspiring anyway, because it just makes you it makes you realize that you do it for yourself and you just want to move on to the next thing.
I think
Sorry, you go.
I was just going to say, I think it almost takes some of the pressure off yourself as the artist to, when creating, that you can kind of not have the mentality that it's not just going to be forgotten, but that, as you said, that it's something that if people are always continually moving on to things, you don't have to drive yourself crazy over one tiny little piece that might not matter, if that makes sense.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Totally. I've had so many chats with people over the years, like drunken chats at a festival or wherever. And I just really, we've just spent so much time on this record, so much money, and I just really like, I don't know what I'll do if it doesn't go well, sort of thing. And you're like, man, you can't think like you can't. I don't know if I'm just a cynical person, but I'm like, you just got to expect that no one gives a shit every single time, and then anything above that is bonus.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be thinking your whole life savings or, I'm just like, man, and you can't predict. You can spend 5 years on something in your whole life savings and no one will care, or you can record something on your iPhone and it's like some sort of like accidental hit. You can't like time and effort and money doesn't equal success. So it's just, I don't know. I've had so many chats with people and I just feel sorry for them. Like it's there's no like recipe for getting people to listen to your music really,
No.
as much as people like are always looking for it. So my approach is just to keep doing as much as I can and try and make it as good as I can, and then however it falls, however the cards fall, they fall.
100%. It is a thing of that if you've got a good idea or a good song, that should do a lot of the work, as you said, instead of just budget and time and everything else.
I think totally, but also like I think I've loved so much music my whole life that wasn't heard at the time. Like there are thousands of just brilliantly written pieces of music that you go on YouTube and there's like 300 views, and it was released in 1979 or something. Like it's even if the song's brilliant, even if everything's great, it still doesn't. There's still no guarantees, So because there's so many just beautiful, obscure, sort of underground music, records from the last 50 years. So there's no point even worrying about it, because you can't. You might just get ripped off anyway by the by the music industry. You can play the game of it and do your best and say yes to everything and play everything you can and do every interview or something. But it's not. It doesn't mean you're gonna. Millions of people are going to listen to it, no matter how good it is or how hard you work. It sounds so brutal, but it's true.
It is very, very true. Even from a podcast perspective, it is a similar. Yeah. Yeah. And I have friends that make amazing music. And then I have people I know that make music that doesn't move me at all, and they're much more popular, and it's, there doesn't seem to be any rhyme or reason sometimes. But I guess my point is that I don't think that should be your impetus for doing it. Agreed. 100% agreed.
Yeah.
Jay, we would usually kind of talking about this, we would usually ask our guests as a final question what they're currently listening to. Is there anything at the moment that kind of has caught your attention and is on repeat in your household?
I'm pretty I'm pretty bored. I listen to the same just records I've listened to my whole life a lot. And it's often when I'm cleaning the house or doing the dishes or something, it'll be the same Can or the same Sly Stone record or just stuff I listened to when I was young. Oh, what have I heard recently that was cool? I'm just looking in Spotify now.
No, good.
I should just read out everything and stop looking for the cool stuff and stop lying. I don't know. Oh, I like, as far as new bands go, I like Hello. Sorry, that was my dad just saying hello. I like this band Jockstrap from the UK.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I like this band Water From Your Eyes from New York. It's pretty cool. It's like reminds me of sort of, I don't know what it reminds me of. It's quite like original. It kind of reminds me a bit of like Odelay Beck sort of stuff.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. It's really good, the album. Yeah. So I'll go with those two bands.
Definitely going to check that out. I'm not going to keep your father waiting any longer, Jay. Thank you so much.
He just wandered over. I thought it was a random person. I was like, actually, I know that guy.
Jay, thank you very much for your time. I do appreciate it. And congrats on the brand new Gum single, Would It Pain You to See? It is out now. We'll make sure we have all the tour dates in the show notes for people to attend these Gum shows. But yes, congrats on Saturnia, and we look forward to the record.
Thanks, Simon. I appreciate you having me. Thanks for that.
Acast powers the world's best podcasts. Here's a show that we recommend.
I'm Kristen.
And I'm Jen from the I Mom So Hard podcast.
Now listen, we don't want to brag, but yes, we are moms. We're average moms.
Below average sometimes.
But we're not just moms.
Yeah, we don't want you to think that we're just moms. And we're not just supermodels either. We're not just pieces of meat,
That's right. We're not even close.
Yeah.
But we are comedians, and we're also best friends.
We're also best-selling authors.
And television writers.
And we created a viral web series.
With over 300 million views.
Okay,
What's
that's
up?
bragging.
Who's bragging?
That is bragging,
And we were in our
actually.
swimsuits. Again, not supermodels.
We're also podcasters.
Are we podcasting right now?
Not right now, but we have been podcasting for 3 years. We're bringing laughs every Tuesday to women and moms everywhere.
And one dude who's a sophomore in college, his name's Greg, whatever, he messaged us and made me feel cool.
So nice. Amazing. Please listen to the I Mom So Hard podcast on Acast.
Woo!
Acast helps creators launch, grow, and monetize their podcasts everywhere. Acast.com.